bite me, suck you filthy, things like that. You know?
Man, you got my nipples hard.
Welcome back, YouTube, to Jermon Zone. I'm your host, Jermon, and today we're taking a look at the 1997 film Booty Call. Now, I know what you think. Why are we in here talking about sex? I mean, this is what this feature is all about, alright? But there's a whole little setup to it, too. There's two different viewpoints that I want to discuss when it comes dealing with the characters. Now, the movie starts off introducing the characters of Rushon, played by Tommy Davidson, and Jamie Foxx, who plays his friend Bunz. Now, they both have two different ideas of how things goes when it comes to dealing with women, and I know a lot of people in real life, they deal with these same things. You have your friends that's kind of peer pressuring you as, hey man, you need to get some as soon as possible. That was what Bunz was about throughout this whole movie, trying to get some as quick as possible, no waiting. While you have Tommy's character, Rashad, who really was focused on what the best wishes of his girl Nikki, and she wanted to wait to make sure this was like the right person. It's really just only like 7 weeks, but you can really see the difference between these two viewpoints, because even Listy, who is a close friend to Nikki, feels like she has the same ideas of Bunz, that you shouldn't wait too long to give it up. But let's dive a little bit deeper into the story. After being introduced to all the characters, we get to see all the characters going on the date, the big date night, with Listy, who is planning to go out with Bunz, and as I said before, Rushon dating his girlfriend. All right, and they go to take a date night to this diner in Chinatown where they're getting some food. Listy automatically is not attracted to Bunz and immediately tries to walk out. Now, as I said before, Bunz and Listy has the same type of thought pattern, right? But she has a whole view of what she was willing to mess with. She sees Bunz being like ghetto and even poor at times and stuff, and feels like he's not even worth the time. The only time that he steps up and proves himself to her when he tells a local gang lord to stop smoking in the restaurant, which turns her on, and now she's more willing to deal with him. On the other side, we see it's more calm with Rushon and Nikki. Like, they're all just relaxed at the time. There's a calm relationship, and you can tell the difference. It's not a battlefield trying to get to know each other, because they know each other, because they spent that time finding out about each other. So once they get done with that, they move on to the next spot. The next spot is the pool hall. And I'll tell you one thing. I would never, ever just bet money on any game like this, because these boys got played. Listy and Nikki played them like a fool, just beating them left and right, just knocking down balls. And there's nothing they can do about it, And you can really tell here that, at the beginning here, that Nikki, this is her focus. She really doesn't want to have sex. She's kind of nervous about this. So she's using these games as an excuse to stay away from it. But eventually, even after this, they even get on the dance floor and they just dancing all calm and cool, just bobbing with it and everything. But Bunz starts to alert, I almost said Tommy. He starts to alert Rushon that, hey, it's getting late. You need to start getting some. Because earlier, then that's a big part of the movie, that he made a bet that before midnight, he gonna try to get it in on Nikki. So he just telling him that, and even trying to show him some moves, some dance moves and stuff. Get freaky with her a little bit. Start dancing right behind her and getting in it. And that Listy sees it and knows that this, what Bunz is doing. Also, Nikki eventually sees it too, and telling him to calm down. We not doing all that tonight. But that eventually leads. After that, we get to another scene where they get back to the house, and we start playing cards, and you can see how Nikki's really trying to stretch this out because she really doesn't want to get into the sex, and they're now playing cards. The girls are they're just dominating, just whooping them left and right, So, even, this is the funny thing, Listy started even talking, that kind of joking with Nikki about, hey, maybe you need to start, giving him some, and Nikki's trying to stay away from the whole conversation. But this is when it all flips, when the intimacy starts to pop off. People start playing with each other's feet, rubbing feet to feet. For me, I find that to be disgusting. All right, don't play with me with no feet. I find that disgusting because eventually, Rushon and Bunz end up rubbing their feet against each other and stuff like that. And I'll tell you, Bunz had some of the worst feet I ever seen in my life. Oh my gosh, it looked like it was warts on it and everything. But eventually, Nikki's still trying to, push the games, and we got to continue to go and play and play and play. But they get tired of that. And eventually Bunz and Listy decides, you know what, let's turn up a little bit. Let's get a little freaky deaky. So Listy end up deciding to take Bunz to her room, and they start getting it in. All right, they wasn't playing around. As I told you before, these are the two viewpoints, and they're a living example of that. While you'll see Nikki, she's kind of nervous about it, don't really want to do it. But as they really start to get into it, as they start kissing and making out, this is when things change. Then she start talking about protection and how it's not good to have sex without protection. So that leads to this whole adventure, and we're going to see this adventure happen multiple times throughout the film. That she sends Rushon out to pick up some condoms, right? And she even calls up Listy to be like, hey, go ahead and pick up some condoms because you don't want to catch that HIV disease. All right, so I ain't gonna lie, this is the first movie I even heard about this disease. All right, but it put me on alert at an early age about it. So he sent out, and also Bunz sent out. Bunz was already getting it. All right, Bunz is mad because he was over here doing Martin Luther King speeches, Bill Cosby speeches and stuff like that, doing all this kinky stuff, because he was already in it.
First I started kissing it, and I'm licking it because I'm thinking about sticking it.
But since Nikki had brought this information to Listy, now she decides, okay, you need to go out and get some condoms. So they set out on a mission to get the condoms from a local, since they're in Chinatown, a local spot there. They get some lambskins, and eventually they make it back. All right. Nothing too dramatic or crazy, because there's going to be some more adventures that they take that gets even more intense than that. So they get it. They comes back, and Bunz get right back to action.
And then I can look down upon that beautiful, voluptuous woman, and I can say, what you gonna say? I'll wax that ass. I'll wax that ass.
But on the other side, we see Rushon and Nikki. They still discussing about how they should approach it. And as they about to get it in, she reads the details on it, and it tells her more about what the problem with lambskin, like condoms. Like, for me at the time, I was a kid. I didn't know what that was. What would happen? So she sends him back out to get some latex condoms. So we see him being pushed out again, and she also calls Listy, telling her to come on, get Martin Luther King out of there and get us some latex condoms. So they send on another adventure. They meet up at the what was it? I would say like the convenience store, and they just start looking through, trying to figure out. For a second there, I thought they was playing. They said they had Goodyear condoms. I was like, is this a real thing? Yo, that's wild if they did. Hey, I'm telling you, that's wild. But you know, they pick up some more condoms. Go back, all right? They go back, and they really about to set it off, right? Set it off. I forgot to mention this too. The dog that they have here is called Monster, all right? He is a monster because the condom that Rashad had at the beginning, the dog basically grabbed that and ripped that apart. And that's why he had to go back out and get some more condoms, because he wasn't prepared. So, they get back. As I said, Bunz listed. Get right back into action. Rushon, he wanted to get into action. And next thing you know, we see some more requests. These requests is getting annoying. I would say I would get annoyed by this. Now she was talking about doing actual, doing oral sex now. And what they call it, dental dam? One of those things. But it's basically getting some saran wrap so they can go down on both of each other and stuff to protect from any type of, you know, sexual transmitted disease. Now, I will say for this. I took this advice to heart. I really did. Because once it came time when I got to my teenage years, I was thinking about this protection. Like, this movie made me think about, hey, maybe I do need to protect myself from, if I ever get in a situation like this, I need to protect myself. Now, what they end up doing in the movie, I knew not to do that. Alright? So, they sent out again to get some saran wrap. Now, Bunz is mad. Bunz is just sick of it. He's like, I'm tired of being sent out on these trails just to get stuff. And he's like, especially this time, I'm not going to even be doing this. So, they go back out. They get some saran wrap. You know, even the store clerks, they just messing with them. Like, you came back here at 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, trying to get some saran wrap. We know what you about to do.
Boom, sha la 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 la, boom, sha la 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 la, boom, sha la 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 la, boom.
You know, even the character Bernie Mac shows up. You know, I think he's a judge, but he also is a person that goes to Rashad's church. He even tries to talk him out of it and say, hey, you shouldn't be out this late at night doing the devil's work. You know, at the same time, he out there with a woman and stuff about to do the same thing, you know? The people that have that contradictories, you know, it's a common thing that happens and stuff, but Bernie Mac is hilarious. I love Bernie Mac in anything he does, and he's hilarious here too. So, after returning for the last time, they prepare to do it. Ain't no more games, alright? They get in, and, you know, she is nowhere to be found, alright? You know, he's asking her, like, where she's at. She has, you know, the bottle ready and everything. And she even asks him, do he know what he's doing?
You know what you're doing?
Do I know what I'm doing? I know what I'm doing. Say you want some dental dam? I got your dental dam.
He didn't know what he was doing. Because that man, instead of just putting it on the person, he decides to wrap it around his head, basically almost killing himself. She had to run back out there and save this fool from basically choking himself out. And she was just so amazed that a person would do this to themselves. Next thing you know, Bunz come busting in the door, you know, tripping over things because he did the same thing. Now, I'm telling you, this is straight up foolishness, you know.
Help me. What?
Motherfucker, was you gonna wait for me to turn into a butterfly?
Deja vu.
Now, for other people, they probably saw it. They say, I ain't never doing that. It's going to make me choked out. Now, at the time when I was growing up, I was like, no, I would never just go that far. But I understand the purpose and the protection of it. So, the boys are just fed up. You know, that I'm trying to get some, just this basic, this night, and I can't get nothing, right? Because Nikki is just always coming up with excuses. To keep this going and stuff that, you know, it's like she wants some, but she really, you know, she's really worried about this, that she might be bringing in someone that she might not want to be with, right? So they decide to leave, like, hey man, let's just roll. We need to get out of here, all right? And you really see, like, this whole time, Rushon is like really influenced by Bunz, you know, looking for his approval, you know, doesn't want to be embarrassed, you know, when he's in front of the girls. So when he's trying to roll out, they trying to get him to stay, and they even was talking about how they almost got shot because, yes, when they went to the convenience store, they saved the clerks from being shot. So they about to leave, about to get in the cab and ready to go, and here we go with Bunz. What do? He announced that, hey, I guess you're not gonna win that bet then, huh? That throws Nikki off. Because even when Nikki was trying to be like, oh, it's my fault that I did this, once she heard that, she was like, I'm ready to just be done with the whole relationship. You know? So that is thrown off. They arguing. Bunz, he's still trying to get out of there, you know? He even tried to stop a cab. However, he stopped the cab, and the cab thinks that Bunz is trying to rob him. So he gets out and ends up shooting accidentally at Bunz, but ends up hitting Rushon. So now Rushon had to be taken to the hospital. So they rushing, you know, they still arguing about the whole situation of that. I can't believe you bet on me that you can get some. And I'll be honest, this is a common thing. You know, this is a common thing that males do. Have I betted people in my life? Hell yeah, I did. You know, I ain't gonna lie about it, you know. It wasn't like something about this. You know, it might have been like how many numbers you can get. I know I did that, you know. But it's something that we do. I'm not gonna lie. But once they get to, you know, the hospital, we see that, you know, it's serious now that someone got shot in the leg. He got shot in the leg, so they trying to get everything done and get him in. They having problems at the desk, you know, with insurance, you know, because that was the whole comedy thing about people who didn't have insurance and people who did, and who was gonna get the service. So eventually they convinced the lady, like, hey, let him in, he got shot. So they get him in, but here's where the problems arise. They end up putting them by these other group of people that are, you know, they have their own problems. You know, the next guy, he was having some blockage down there, you know, and I guess he can't shoot the sperm like he wanted to. So he decides, after seeing what his actual case, because they was actually going to castrate him. They was about to cut his balls off. So at the time, Rushon is like knocked out. He can't even like figure out what's going on around him. So the guy ends up switching the boards so he doesn't get his stuff cut off. Eventually, the doctors come, grab Rushon, thinking it's the other guy, and they start pushing him into the surgery room to get castrated. So now Bunz got lost. He's supposed to been helping his boy out getting to the right spot, but since he put on the disguise, he in there helping this lady give birth. And at the same time, which was weird, when he was like, hey, you looking kind of good. This man is horny all the time, right? He can't focus for a moment. But that's the whole thing about his viewpoints, of him trying to get some as fast as possible. And you see this, you know? And eventually, we get to a point where, you know, Rushon is about to get his stuff like cut off. Good thing Nikki finds him in time and save him from that. And all I had to say was, he don't have any insurance. They stop. Now, for the other couple that's been doing it all night, they finally get to do it in a room. The guy that's on the side, they don't even know he's even aware. They just know he's in a big cast and that he's not, he's not going to be getting up. So they decide to do it again. All this talk that Bunz had about, oh, I can handle this and be getting women here and there, it didn't even last like about 5 seconds before it ended. He's like, wait, slow down a little bit. Oh my gosh, which, ticks off Listy. So after that, they plan on leaving the hospital because they got whatever they needed done and stuff. Rushon, he got his stuff cleared up with his leg instead of getting castrated. And they're about to be done. Basically, the relationship is about to be done. But this is when he makes it like a pivotal choice in the movie. He stopped listening to Bunz and decides to speak up and says, hey, I don't care about what Bunz say or what Bunz think. I don't care if he embarrassed me. He even lifts up his gown, his like hospital gown, to show that I don't care. You can look at me naked or whatever. You can call and tell the people back in the hood of what's going on here and stuff like that. And you can tell that's what Bunz is gonna do. But he doesn't care about embarrassing. Like I don't care about what Bunz think. I care about what you think because I'm with you. Which lures like Nikki back to him. When that happens, that kind of solidify everything. So we get to see them go home and they get it on. Alright? Again. Now, you would think that Listy and Bunz would be done. But nah, they continue on and they have another, a trip to the sex side with some whips this time, and that really completes the story. Like, I will say this about this movie. When I watched it when I was younger, it was funny. It has some funny parts. Even to this day, it has its funny parts, but it doesn't hit as impactful as it used to and stuff. When I'm seeing it now, and you got to be careful with comedies. You got to approach comedies a little bit different than you approach dramas because it's not going to be that serious. But the thing I do appreciate is the fact that I get to understand the characters' viewpoints, what they believe, and what they want, right? And what they think they want out of the whole situation. But as it is a comedy, as for a comedy, it's funny, but it's like one of the movies where you don't have to see it all the time. You can go like years and even a decade or so without seeing it and you'll be okay. It's not like something that you would just immediately recommend to someone. I don't know if I can recommend this movie to everyone because it is like a raunchy comedy, but it has its good parts, Yeah, you have a star-studded cast, with Tommy Davidson is like a hit. Like, he's amazing in this movie and stuff. He's funny, especially when he was doing the dance moves on the dance floor. Was hilarious. Jamie Foxx, as you know, hilarious. Vivica Fox played her part. Tamara Jones, she played her part too. So I wouldn't say their performance was bad. I think it was more about how the story was written. It was just, as I said, it's a comedy, so you're supposed to laugh. You're not really supposed to think about the deeper concepts majority of the time, but they did have it, and I do appreciate that. But with that being said, I'm going to give this movie a bronze rating. And the reason why I give it that is because I don't think I'll be looking back at this movie in any time soon. Like, I had a good time when I watched it, but it's something I can wait for later down the line. So that's been my review of Booty Call. If you enjoy, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button because I got more coming your way. All right? But until next time, peace.
The problem is, we gonna do this or what?